Many people talk about avoiding probate. Why do you want to avoid probate? Well, there's a couple of very good reasons. One reason is that if you own assets on the mainland, real estate, for example, when you die, that real estate will go through probate in the state in which it is owned. And that can be very time-consuming and expensive. If you have a deed, for example, that transfers that mainland real estate into your revocable trust, you only spend a couple of $100 to get that done, and you can avoid probate on the mainland, a big savings for the family. Another reason for avoiding probate is basically to simplify the settlement of your estate when you die. If you do not have a probate avoidance device, which we're going to talk about in a minute, the assets that you individually own will need to go through a court-supervised probate in order to get to the beneficiaries, and that can also be expensive and time-consuming. So how do you avoid probate? Well, one way is using a revocable living trust. Many people use that as a way to bypass probate. Now, you can have an estate plan, a good estate plan with a will, a power of attorney, but the assets that transfer according to the will go through probate. So if you use a revocable living trust as a will substitute, then you can avoid probate altogether. Another device would be a joint tenancy with the right of survivorship. Of course, after the first joint tenant dies, the surviving joint tenant now has an individually owned asset which is probatable. So they would need to then take action to avoid probate. You can have beneficiary designations. For example, a bank account can have a POD designation. That's a payable on death designation, which designates a beneficiary. That beneficiary can collect that bank account without going through probate. You can do the same thing with a securities account. It's called a transfer on death account, a TOD. And you can have real estate transfer at the time of death without going through probate by having a revocable deed. In Hawaii, you can have a revocable deed that you actually recorded at the Bureau of Conveyances, and then when you die, that deed becomes effective and transfers the property to the beneficiary without going through probate. And yet, while you're alive, you can always revoke it or change your mind. Your IRA is another probate avoidance device. It has designated beneficiaries. Those beneficiaries can collect the IRA proceeds without going through probate. And that's the same with life insurance. Life insurance, you designate a beneficiary. The beneficiary can collect those proceeds without going through probate.